fitness, wellness, and lifestyle. I like it raw, you like it raw, we like it raw.
Okay, guys, this is Glenn, this is Jason. We are hosting this pilot podcast where I like it raw. So why I like it raw? Because we want it to be uncensored, raw, authentic, and be real in this kind of a podcast as we want to share things about fitness, wellness, as well as lifestyle. So it's not all gonna be like exercise, nutrition stuff. I mean, we touch a bit of that, but it's really about the guest in front of us, who is a fitness enthusiast as well. Okay, over.
Right. Thank you for having us on the show. Right, joining us now is a legend in the fitness scene. You might have recognized him if you go to certain fitness shows. Right, he has dabbled in CrossFit, dabbled with Jiu-Jitsu, dabbled with anime, cosplay, and now his latest undertaking, whiskey. Let's put it all together. Our hands to Mr. Edward Say. Thank you for coming.
Hey, thank you very much for having me on.
And I believe you have been into whiskey. How long? How long has this been?
Specifically since July of 2022.
And why whiskey?
Oh, this is a very long story.
Yeah.
It's multiple layers deep, but I'm going to go with the more abridged version.
Okay.
Essentially what happened was I met a friend again in university, and we decided to do whiskey reviews together. So we started our own podcast, which later on became a talk show, and part of our goal was to get enough viewership so that we could essentially get sponsored to drink. That has kind of pivoted away into starting a business in order to just pay ourselves to drink.
Right.
Yeah.
There's one end. But aside from that, it's mostly because I enjoy flavors from whiskey, and whiskey is the drink that helped get me into understanding, contemplating, and seeking out flavors instead of mindless eating or drinking.
So what kind of flavors would you describe whiskey?
There are many different ways that you can describe flavors for whiskey. I would describe it mostly based on, firstly, the flavors you get from the tongue. So you have sweet, you have bitter, you have salty occasionally. You might get here and there umami, that's a bit more rare, otherwise a bit harder to find, sour, but you can get those from very fruity whiskies.
So how will you define PT?
PT. So PT by itself is very complex.
Okay.
Because peat, first perhaps a bit more background for the audience, what peat is. So peat is a type of fossil fuel that is used to dry the malted grains that is used inside whiskey.
Right.
As a fuel source, this was used because, in part, I believe it was because of war, and coal, which is the modern fuel that's used for drying these malted grains, was not available. So the people in Scotland, most specifically Islay, the island of Islay, they use peat in order as a fuel source to dry their grains. And as a result of the burning of this fuel, you end up with this peated flavor that goes onto the grains and into the whiskey. So that's what peat is.
Okay.
Now, peat flavor can be best described as a combination of multiple different flavors.
Right.
It can end up as somewhat grassy because peat is by itself decomposed remains of plants from tens of thousands of years ago. Then it can come across as somewhat meaty because insects, animals, they all die, end up in the earth, and as a result also end up in peat. It tends to come across as a bit smoky because it's literally burnt.
Yeah.
And as a result you get some of those charcoals or carbons that end up inside there.
Okay. So one big question I have about whiskey is made primarily in Scotland, right?
I would say primarily
founded in
Primarily,
Scotland.
yeah.
So how did the Japanese actually get their hands on it and not, Korean?
So we're going to the history of whiskey right now.
So before we make this, I like my whiskey neat podcast.
Right.
So the earliest assumption of where whiskey was made was Ireland actually.
Right. Okay.
Ireland,
Which is pretty much close to Scotland before Scotland became popularized for whiskey.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, how it ended up in other countries, this is a really, really long story. So this fella known as Masutaka Takesuru, if I'm not wrong,
Right.
he went from Japan to Scotland,
Okay.
and he actually apprenticed under someone in Scotland, a distillery in Scotland, and he brought back the methods to Japan, and that's how Japanese whiskey was made.
I think I heard about that as well. Yeah.
So which would you say would be like right now the forefront of whiskey? Japan or
forefront of whiskey? Ooh, this is a very contentious topic.
Yeah.
Because each country.
I mean, this is I like it raw. We are on contentious topics, so
right.
let's.
So plenty of countries are trying to always spearhead new developments in whiskey. So Scotland, they are always trying to innovate and improve the whiskey that they already have. So you have the more traditional distilleries that like to go about things the way they like to do it. For example, Glendronach always likes to use a Pedro Jimenez cask in order to mature the drinks. And you get some slight alterations in how they finish it, but mostly it's a Pedro Jimenez cask maturation.
Right.
Where in other countries, they like to be a bit more funky. So let's say Kavalan. Kavalan is a drink that we're having in front of us right now.
Yeah.
It's a Taiwanese brand. And I'm sure Glenn and I, we both like it a lot.
Yeah,
I've been
like
to
it
a
a lot.
distillery in Taiwan itself.
Damn, lucky.
Okay, but why Taiwanese now? I mean, I'm not a whiskey drinker, so I mean, but I do enjoy once in a while a good Scotch. But so why from Japan and now Taiwan? Where do you see the next up and coming country that's actually gonna blow our minds?
Up and coming. You might potentially get Vietnam.
I know about Vietnam. Yeah, it's up and coming.
Recently, there was this fella from a company known as Videdi Spirits. He visited the bar that I work at, and he's mostly in the production of spirits by itself. So
spirits, gins,
the byproducts of spirits, which are liqueurs, which is watered down spirits, and they're also going into developing whiskey. And the country makes a really big difference to the maturation. So tropical countries like Singapore, dude, it's really bloody hot. The maturation's a lot faster, but at the same time, angel share, which is how much alcohol leaves the barrel during the maturation, is much higher.
Right.
So you get whiskies that could be done maybe in like 3 years or so. Bryce Lion Distillery, which is one of the biggest gin distillers in Singapore. They were the ones who get the good fortune of producing Singapore's first single malt whiskey. And let's just say that it's pricey. When they first retailed it,
like how much?
I believe the baseline 45% ABV version went for 368. Around there. And this is a 500 ml bottle.
What?
Yeah, no kidding. And then the cask strength version went for I think 568.
And what would you consider that level? I mean, compared to your Lafroy, Glenlivet, and Yamazaki.
Let's just say that it is a nice tasting ex-bourbon. Right? Let's not try to compare too harshly.
Yeah, not too much.
Yeah. But
is it because that Singapore, right, as we do this distillery, we imported the goods? Does it increase the cost of that whiskey? Is 300 something for a 500 ml?
I mean, if we're being speculative, chances are it's mostly due to branding. It gets the liberty of being the first single malt in Singapore. Second is also that the production of whiskey by itself is a rather arduous process, because what you need to do is that you need to take grains. So barley is normally the main grain. That gets malted, which means that you take it, you throw it into water with yeast, enzymes happen, sugar happens, but that's fermentation. It produces alcohol from the sugars. And then from there you need to take it, throw it into a still, and from this still, which is a gigantic, think of it as like a somewhat columnish thing that's used for distillation, where you get the liquids of different compositions to boil at different temperatures, and then take the liquid with a low boiling point, bring it out into another still, and then into another still. So there's a multiple round of distillation. So it's a process that takes a bloody long time. And needless to say, it requires a lot of space, it requires a lot of energy, and it requires a lot of manpower.
Right.
That's why you should drink whiskey, bro.
I mean, it's either you drink beer and it goes to your stomach, or you drink whiskey or hard liquor, it goes to your liver. So it's a choice of
it all has
two supposedly necessary evils. But how would you introduce whiskey to, say, a Heartlander, say your typical Abeng uncle sitting at a coffee shop who's just drinking tiger beer? How would you actually...
So whiskey by its strict EU definition is required to be at 40% ABV. So 40% alcohol by volume is not exactly the easiest thing to drag people into, especially if they're used to light stuff.
Yeah.
right? Most people would drink
Like stuff.
soju.
No, I drink tequila. I drink tequila,
Like
bitch.
stuff, man.
I drink tequila.
Yeah, but your tequila is not at 60% ABV on average, right?
Yeah.
So if you need to introduce someone to this, one way you can do is you can introduce it to them on the rocks. So on the rocks, this is a rocks class for those who have the liberty of seeing it on YouTube or by a video medium. It allows you to put a big ice cube inside, and as the ice melts, it dilutes the drink. By diluting the drink, it can reduce the ABV and thus the alcohol burn that you feel for most beginners.
Right.
This makes it a bit more palatable for those who are unable to take it straight up.
Okay.
Otherwise, other ways that you can introduce it are very spirit-forward cocktails. Spirit-forward cocktails, these refer to cocktails that you feel more of the alcohol instead of the other components. So something like, say, a rusty nail. A rusty nail is a cocktail that I'm quite fond of.
Right.
It's very simple. It's Scotch whiskey, and it's drambuie, which is a liqueur, a rather bitterish liqueur. Smack these two together in a roughly 2-to-1 ratio, and you have a rusty nail.
Right.
Garnish with orange, and boom, you have a cocktail you can sell for like $20+, right?
Okay.
Right? So it has ice. You dilute it down a little bit, but it still comes across as being a bit more fierce on the palate,
Okay.
but very flavorful.
What about whiskey sours?
Whiskey
sours be not so
Similar.
not so fierce as
Definitely not as fierce. So whiskey sours, because you have a bit more components to it. You have the egg white, you have your other liqueurs, your lemon juice. By adding in more things to dilute it, you are effectively reducing how much ABV it has, much greater.
What about highball?
Highball. So highball is technically a cocktail. So you can actually get people to do a highball, and by adjusting
Entry level, I think.
very entry level. By adjusting how much soda water you use,
Highballs is for
make it more
kids.
palatable.
It's just soda water and whiskey.
Yeah, that's why you ask, right? I like the entry level, how to
Highball
get
is
them
for
into it.
kids.
But
I
it's
mean,
a
you
good,
would not
refreshing
expect a old uncle ape to drink highball. It's like, what's this? 7-Up with
7 Up.
I mean, okay, now we are talking about fitness here and egg whites and all that. Protein.
Yeah.
What would you pair with whiskey? What sort of food?
So whiskeys tend to go along with red meats very well. So I myself, I like to pair it with bakwa.
Okay.
Bakwa is rather cheap and accessible from some brands here in Singapore.
Right.
So, I'm not going to say brands because
But-
it's free promotion.
Yes, correct. But would a whiskey bar actually serve bakwa?
You can if you have F&B license.
Okay.
And for the most part, most bars tend to come along with F&B license, especially with COVID. Because they need some other ways to alter their state into less of a bar that just focuses on alcohol and add in the food component.
So you can form another B&W, like the headphones or the speaker, then you just put bakwa and whiskey bar.
Yeah,
This is quite cool.
And bakwa and whiskey, jerky, other meats like let's say duck meat.
Dark meat.
More roasted stuff lah. Very
roasted, dry, jerky
dry
stuff. They tend to pair very
So
well.
you can have
with whiskey.
Peking duck and whiskey.
Honestly, you could. Especially the whole point of having the alcohol is that it actually helps to, in crude terms, it chops up the oil and makes it a bit more miscible. So it actually goes down the throat a lot better.
Yeah. Remind me of the story that my client invited me to this restaurant, I think in Paragon. Then we have Peking duck. Private room, so you can just bring whiskey on it. And it's unexpectedly, right, we eat Peking duck and whiskey is just married together really, really well.
Yes. Very
Orgasmic.
savory meats tend to go along very well with whiskey.
Okay.
Other things that can go along well, these would be seafood. So specific types of seafood go well with the saltier whiskeys. So I've heard of, say, Ardbeg and Kaila. These are two Isla Peter whiskeys that tend to come salt. Some nature of salt because of the way they're produced. And
How do they have salt?
so
Because you mentioned about salty, like,
a big assumption or claim to how these salty flavors end up inside whiskey is you situate them near the coast, and then the salty sea breeze that comes in, and
Also, it gets absorbed by the
the barrels. Because the barrels are not like 100% sealed off. It breathes in a sense. So if the breeze comes in, it carries along salt with it, can permeate into the barrel and into the whiskey.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's how places like Talisker, Glenglassaugh, they all make claims that they end up with some salty nature to their whiskies.
And what about cigars? People actually drink normally like to wind down a long day. It's always cigars and whiskey.
Yes, a bit more pricey of a hobby,
Okay.
but the cigar and the whiskey pairing does play along well.
Is it because of the smell?
Yes, so cigars are largely aromatic.
Right.
You don't go through them as quickly as you would a cigarette,
Right.
and very much different from vape.
Okay.
Vapes are there to nicotine quickly.
Yeah.
Different,
They get
different-
the high.
different
You get
juicy
the high
flavors.
fast. Yeah.
You know, cigarettes are nicotine, but it comes with a lot more of that noxious component, so it's more repulsive.
Right.
Whereas cigars are, based on their production method, they are essentially leaves that are wrapped up and rolled up,
Right.
and as a result of that, when you burn them, it releases strong aromas that are not so repulsive but are peculiar to cigars.
Okay.
And pairing this along with whiskey, which is mostly a nose and a
Aromatic.
mouth thing,
Right.
yes, it ends up complementing each other quite well. A sip and a puff here and there,
So it's a nose thing and a mouth thing.
very much.
Okay.
Then there's a lot of fitness thing where I mean when we talk about whiskey and we always connect that there's always a T-shirt called whiskey and deadlift. Do you find that combination somewhere a bit unique or
Whiskey and what?
deadlift? Whiskey and
Deadlift.
deadlift.
So this here, I understand this really well. So this is because of.
I'm lost. Why is whiskey? Why whiskey?
So whiskey and deadlift is a trend that, not say trend, it's more like a thing.
I think
by
yeah, it's a thing.
Chris Duffin of Kabuki,
Yeah.
Kabuki Strength.
Okay.
So Chris Duffin is a very well-known strength innovator, strength equipment producer, and larger than life figure
Yeah.
on social media for his inventions. So his brand Kabuki Strength produces a fair number of equipment.
Yeah.
For example, the Duffalo bar. It's a cambered, a curved barbell.
Right.
I actually have a very juicy story about this.
Okay.
So back when COVID came, right?
Oh yeah.
We need to find a way to keep lifting. So for me, I already had a home gym, but an associate of mine, acquaintance now, he did not have a home gym. So he was like, bro, can we use like the visitor's privilege to come over to your place and like lift? So what he offered in return for like 3 days of lifting was, we can yoink this Duffalo bar from this gym and we'll throw it in your house. And you can use it and I can use it. And I was like, alright, bet, sounds like a good deal. So he yoinked the Duffalo bar, which was already a bit sanging, threw it into my dad's car, drove back to my place and threw it in my room. And I was like, damn, this thing is almost touching the ceiling. And
Oh
we
yeah,
ended-
it's quite long,
and
right?
We ended up
Yeah.
running 2 whole lifting blocks with it before we returned it to the gym. That was a rather interesting circuit breaker.
And how does it feel? Because I do see it, I do hear about it, but how does it feel for your lifting experience?
Honestly, I have drank before lifting before. Let me admit this.
Mm-hmm.
It's not particularly disruptive if it's in sufficiently low doses, but it's definitely not particularly useful.
Okay.
Would you say that it actually affects your performance?
On maybe a psychological front, yes. But in terms of physiologically, probably not. It takes a while for this to get in, even if you like stick it under your tongue, straight into the membranes.
Psychologically affected, meaning you actually think that you can actually lift more, or you are actually more conscious of your form, or
It might induce a bit more arousal in your lifting.
Right.
So part of the whole whiskey and deadlift that Chris Duffin did was he would take a sip, and I remember exactly what he used for the video. It was Hibiki Harmony. Not sure it's Master Select, but it's probably Hibiki Japanese Harmony.
But I mean, I'm actually looking at right now at the Duffalo bar. It just basically looks like a bar that's just bent out of shape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Due to that design, it actually improves your shoulder. Not say it improves, but it caters to your shoulder mobility a bit better.
Right.
And it situates the bar a bit lower, so it alters the center of mass and how the weight is positioned. Also, it rocks
Yeah.
back and forth, so you actually need to be locked in.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, but the idea behind whiskey and deadlift is that you take a shot before you lift, and by taking a shot, you feel the burn, you
Right.
feel a rush of emotion, then you lock in, you get in tight, lift the weight up.
Okay.
So it's
And
more of a mental
that's more
arousal
like
thing.
a 1 rep max kind of thing.
Yeah, it's really it's kind of like ammonia salts.
Okay.
It's different, man.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
it's very different than ammonia salt, bro.
Ammonia salts
So basically, you're just doing this drunken master shit thing with a
It's not drunkest
no,
master shit.
no,
You can't get drunk, man.
You're approaching the lift very sober.
Okay. Okay.
But you take the shot in order to like.
But how big is it? I mean, a shot is a shot glass. Right? I mean.
Okay, bro, you haven't really did like a one-man medicine daily. So.
Oh, I have not done a
Oh, come
one-man
on.
max my ass.
So, when you go to your lifting aspect, especially if you go in like competition or even in your training, right, you get very hyped out of that.
Yeah.
So sometimes I experienced before. So you kind of, if you're too high, you don't know what you're doing. It's so nervous.
Your mind is
Blank. So when you get a
much
bit of
adrenaline.
you get a little bit of whiskey, right? It kind of like narrow down a bit, just a bit for you to get that right zone, so you can lift up the weights itself.
Yeah, so it's more of a
Down,
cognitive.
I mean, yeah, correct. Because alcohol is more of a downer.
It is by design is a depressant.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, I wish this was actually Jamaica or something. We can actually take a split for a joint and then after that go and lift and then back again.
We can do one episode in Bangkok.
Oh, okay. Then make sure I don't get arrested after that.
Yeah, you never know, man.
You never know.
So,
Right. I mean, okay.
Just saying,
but
may not happen.
But
Yeah.
in terms of fitness, and do you think that if I were to drink and get drunk, actually you will be able to do like Drunken Master, like Jackie Chan? I mean, seeing that you actually do martial arts before and everything.
I will not say that 醉拳 or the drunken fist is very feasible
Right.
because we normally don't have consciousness when we're drunk.
Right.
So if you are relying on the intoxication, it better be due to some really good motor learning. Your
Right.
body can replicate the movements, but better.
Okay.
And yeah, there's no way to really say if drunken fist is effective or efficacious.
Right. Okay.
You might, if we're taking what happens outside bars or outside clubs, as a good
Right,
example,
Yeah.
chances are not really.
Because like I mean we've seen fights before where people actually drink and they get drunk and they get into a fight. Sometimes because it's such a downer that you're actually very numb to
Pain,
pain
yeah.
and so on and so forth. And then the next morning like
Yeah,
oh shit,
nothing.
what did I actually do?
Why is
Like,
my nose broken?
yeah,
this
was my
way?
nose
Why
broken
I
into 6
fractured
places,
collarbone?
yeah, and all this kind of thing. I mean, we never actually encourage. I mean, being a so-called family-friendly, I like it raw podcast, we don't encourage people to fight. But I mean, if you actually get into a fight, how would you actually try to reconcile, drinking and fighting?
Wait, suddenly we're going to negotiation strategies?
Yeah, maybe.
What?
What? Put the party in. Put the party in.
Okay, but I mean, but being a person of martial arts yourself, we're doing jiu-jitsu previously. What if you were and you work in a bar?
Right.
If somebody were to actually approach you intimidatingly, what would you actually do?
Okay, there's
Kimura is
there
ass or-
there are very few ways to approach this situation. Let's
Right,
be fair, right?
Right. What's your go-to
most-
method?
Go-to method to deal with someone?
Right.
You try to call the cops.
Okay.
It's a very easy way of dealing with a situation. If someone actually is putting a fist on you,
Right.
I mean, if you're hit and you're on the ground, you play by ground rules,
Right, definitely. Right.
If someone gets a mount, okay, good. Flip him over. You
Yeah.
try to go for your own counter mount.
Yeah.
He's drunk, so he's not going to get you to close guard.
Yeah,
Probably
right.
switch to the mount, go into a back take, choke him out.
Okay.
You know, because voluntary causing hurt. That's the stipulation by Singaporean law that
Yeah.
by right, if you get into a fight and there's no really grievous hurt, no one's gonna be suing each other.
But the thing is, if I get into a fight with somebody, I mean, first thing is I'm going to get into the ground and triangle his ass because there is no chance of
Bro.
hitting him.
Yes.
Let me give you advice from one of my friends. He's a Krav Maga, heads of Krav Maga in Asia. So I asked him if this situation coming, because he's always go like the Israel for that training on that. What's the first thing that you need to do when there's a fight? Run.
Very
You have a choice, you run. Because
I mean,
no point. Why you
but-
use the effort of doing the
No,
fights?
I mean, from his view, from his avenue, it's not so much of running because like you actually run a proprietorship of alcohol and somebody were to actually be.
Well, let's say if like that scenario is outside a club, right?
Yeah.
This is what even my previous coach told me.
Yeah.
It was like someone puts a knife on you. I'm not going to go and try and disarm you.
I mean, definitely run away.
It's out the guy.
If you're say within the confines of your own
Yeah,
shop.
right. So what you don't really have
Throw something away at him.
but to subdue the guy.
Right.
So So what are you gonna do? I'm not gonna grab a freaking bar stool and smack him over the head. No,
Right.
that's probably gonna kill the guy.
Okay.
Right? So you need to actually do submission grappling, something
Right.
like this.
Mm.
Otherwise, you can attempt to box a really drunk guy, and consequences.
Yeah.
Same thing. Trying to choke someone out, putting someone into a joint lock is probably a lot safer.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course, the choke is with the caveat because if you execute a blood choke wrongly, you could kill a guy.
Right.
10 seconds, over 10 seconds of neck.
Yeah.
Chances are you
Uh,
croak.
Maybe more of a crank than a blood choke. Like.
Yeah. Crank, cause enough pain to actually mobilize the person.
Correct.
You know.
Yeah.
So that's probably the most reasonable thing that you can execute. But otherwise, call the cops, call the party.
Right.
Because there's strength in numbers, yes, there's strength in authority.
Right.
And if you don't have to get
I mean, in terms of looking at like self-defense, or more like in terms of like say I'm standing behind a bar, somebody actually jumps across the bar and tries to attack me because he's drunk, or like, oh okay, I want this bottle of Glenlivet, give it to me, bitch, before I cut you, and you gotta protect yourself and everything.
Well, yeah, but if that's the case, right, someone's probably dying over there.
Does anyone have this kind of situation before?
I don't think so.
No, I mean we're looking at in case of emergencies.
Yeah. But it's a really scuffed hypothetical.
Right.
Yeah.
No matter what, right?
No matter what,
So
yeah.
you can't kill the guy. That's
Right,
the first
That's
thing.
true, that's true.
That's homicide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Manslaughter.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In the best case.
I mean, but we always hear of people actually drinking and actually getting into fights and everything, and coming from a person who has done martial arts before. So that's asking on your angle. And besides jiu-jitsu, what else did you actually do in the past?
Formally, I've only done jiu-jitsu. I have scant knowledge of boxing, kickboxing.
And your jiu-jitsu is a Brazilian jiu-jitsu or
Yeah.
Japanese
So,
jiu-jitsu?
so why do you do BJJ actually?
Why?
Wow.
Well, I had a lot of time before university started
Okay.
in 2019, and this was after leaving. This was after ORing from NS. So I went to do jiu-jitsu because one, it was really implicit interest at the time. I wanted to develop skill sets, especially martial arts skill sets in a very formal setting.
But do anyone you look up to the BJJ,
no.
or is it something?
No.
What inspired you kind of like? Look into
Jiu-jitsu
it.
probably had the lowest barrier of entry.
Would you consider it the ultimate martial art?
The ultimate martial art?
Yeah, I mean, according to Joe Rogan and everything, I mean, there is no ultimate martial arts, right?
Right.
But would you consider it as like, why would you see such a big influx in popularity?
Perhaps one caveat, which is that are we factoring no gi into this?
Yeah, no gi into this.
Then if we are looking at it from the perspective of a martial artist, right, it's probably not the perfect martial art because it's no striking.
Right.
It's a very good submission art,
Right. Definitely.
Yeah.
but there are gaps in the art. For example, no-gi is where you might fill in some roles in the more forceful natures. Wrestling is where stand-up wrestling and ground wrestling is where things might get a bit more effective to some degree, like pins, joint locks,
dumping
Russian
them on the
ties.
heads and stuff.
Yes,
Yeah.
but you need to fill in components of striking, especially if you're in a mount, right?
Right.
I'm not going to go on my way to always choke the guy. Sometimes I just want to beat the crap out of him.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's a more effective way of knocking
But why
someone.
would you want to beat the crap out of him with when you know that it's voluntary consequence?
No, because if you're in a mount, right, and we're talking, this is a case of it's a martial art.
Right.
Sometimes you're not always going to go for a choke
Right.
from this very advantageous position. You might want to go for a hammer fist instead.
Yeah.
Right? And it's much more effective on the person because they can't really fight back. You can target spots, knock them out far easier,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
it can create openings for your chokes as well. Right? Aside from that, you need to factor in that, people aren't exactly going to play the way you want in the martial art. Because if let's say you're in the mount, bottom guy is going to be punching back, although he's putting himself at the risk of exposing his arm for some kind of shoulder-based lock. So armbar, that's elbow, maybe gets flipped around, put it inside.
So why would you think that it's actually currently the most popular?
Popular?
Right. Is it
I
because
think
of
barrier for entry is low.
Okay.
I think that weight classes are a bit less disadvantageous compared to striking arts.
Right.
So you can have someone who is maybe about 30 kilograms lighter. Yes, and he can still
Choke your ass.
he can choke your ass. He can play the game well.
Right.
He can mitigate the weight difference far better.
Right.
Whereas if you're 30 kg heavier and you're striking, right, the amount of weight behind the fist is much heavier.
The amount of force generated as well.
Yeah.
Contact kinetics and everything.
So based on this, right, I think you've done powerlifting and you also do this BJJ. There's a certain weight class kind of thing that you keep in mind. So in BJJ, I mean in powerlifting we know the certain weight class in like say in Asia is like the most competitive weight class. So in BJJ, is there such thing about that? Like a weight class is super like saturated and competitive.
Oh, I have not been seen for that
okay,
so
okay.
I'm not too certain.
Okay.
There are weight classes, there are weight categories.
I can throw a guess. I think Bushesha's weight class, so the super heavyweights, above hundreds.
Above hundreds.
And they also now they have masters, so based on age and everything.
Yes.
The only thing that most people, I mean, and I can say openly on a podcast, most people my age and will be considered masters. Anything above 35, I'm not mistaken, 35 or 40 is also master. So if I'm 50 years old and I'm fighting a 35-year-old who has actually a 15-year age gap, that would be a huge disadvantage to me, even though we are considered old or
to be fair,
not a spring chicken anymore.
Really depends on what class you want to play, right?
Yeah.
Especially the age. So by most sports they segregate masters by division of 5 years.
Right.
So the open class is up to 39 years old,
Right.
and anyone can take part. Even you're 14 years old, but you're some genetic prodigy. So from 41 to 45, 46 to 50, and so on and so forth. Those are where you get masters 1, masters 2, masters 3, and so on.
Okay.
Some sports might not really care, and just like wholesale masters is above 40, above 35.
Right.
We really need to see like who's the federation or who's the association setting these like rules.
Okay.
Yeah. Whereas for age, right, if you ask me, I would say that there actually may not be that big of a musculoskeletal difference.
Right.
Okay.
Assuming the person started training when they were young.
Okay.
Because if let's say you were young, you don't even need to optimize your training to get like really bloody jacked.
Right.
You honestly just need to get to like somewhere around 80% of your muscular potential,
Okay.
Yeah.
and then you could probably retain that for quite a long time, even as you age into like your 50s.
Okay. So, what about this thing out there right now when they're actually saying that lifting actually, I mean, coming from a fitness perspective, fitness background, and also a martial artist background, what would you say to people who actually said that lifting actually counter the role or your mobility in Jiu-Jitsu?
For the most part, I think the people who are making these claims
Do not do enough training.
I also think so.
My assessment of
so.
this, or the basis of this, is that if let's say you want to be pedantic and you want to really look at all aspects of your training, you should be doing enough mobility training with any kind of resistance training, with any jiu-jitsu or martial arts specific training, to ensure that you do not have compromised mobility in anything.
I think what they see in the perspective, they isolate the thing. They see a certain person do the deadlift, and they're like, oh, he should have some mobility issue. But I think highly the chance that they won't really look at what they do outside the strength training. There's also other components of training they did as well.
So that's the thing, right? When we look at anyone's training, whether it's like their program, whether it's like an IG feed, we're only getting a snapshot of what they've really done. So no one really knows how hypermobile my wrists are until I show them. And then it's like, oh, what the hell? Why can your wrist go so deep when you crank it down like that? Why can't it go so deep like this, right? And a lot of this is due to jiu-jitsu. A lot of it is also due to front squats, right? But if you're really shitty at front squats, especially when you start
I'm shitty at front squat,
you end up T-Rexing and you end up torquing your wrist so much, putting in such a stretch
I'm a fucking
position.
T-Rex,
I mean,
Look at the
I use
T-Rex
straps
over
for front squats.
Yeah, but sometimes you don't want to just use straps, right? Because I've done the straps part for a whole bit. Eventually, I came to the point that if your technique is really shitty with straps, you end up compressing your whole forearm against your biceps and you cause a forearm cramp.
Right.
That's what can actually hurt you during the front squat.
That's a bitch.
Yeah, that is a ditch. But if you try to force yourself into a front rack without having the requisite mobility, it ends up being a really painful stretch, you know, to eventually end up in the position because you're trying to externally rotate, more, you're trying to torque your wrist back even more, and you're trying to keep all your fingers under it if you don't want the T-Rex.
Right.
So that's what happened to me. After trying to do this shit too much, people eventually found that, hey, I can't wrist lock you, and they're like, why are you not screaming in pain? And I'm like, I don't feel it. Then they talk deeper, and they're, why aren't you screaming in pain? Most people would be on the ground by now and tapped out. Nah, it's a good stretch. Then eventually I started asking people, hey, can you wrist lock me so that I can stretch my wrist?
Wrist lock me so I can have a stretch.
Yeah. So that's the part and parcel of the hypermobile wrist. And then after getting wrist lock, right, and stopping jiu-jitsu because of COVID, then I ended up being able to do front squats properly. Because I ended up getting my wrist like cut so much that everything became so stretched out.
Okay.
And then I could eventually voluntarily stretch it out myself, like into the wall.
You're gonna put this segment and you say wrist lock for wrist mobility for your front squat.
You never know.
You never know, man. You never know.
It is, I would call it partner assisted stretching.
Partner assisted stretch.
Maybe people who do
Partner
Task orientated.
Especially when you get mounted.
Yeah, of course. You know, I mean, it might hurt, yes, but hey, stretching and end ranges tend to hurt, so you never know, right?
And somehow, right, we have so much things about fitness that you did, or like jiu-jitsu and powerlifting. It's a very surprised that when you're P3A, you're obese. How heavy were you back then?
Shit, man, don't want to know. So I've been obese the most of my life. Since P3, I think P3 was 80 and it went on like increments of like 8 to 10. So like by the time I was P6, probably about 100. I went into Sec 1 and I think it was about 105.
105.
Then in Sec 2 it was 110 and that was the point where like I started lifting. And then it eventually became like this massive up and down.
And how do you...
Was it a puberty thing that actually got you to actually lose weight, or was it
Not really. I would say that puberty is part and parcel of it.
Okay.
So the main reason why I wanted to train at the time was because of CCA rules, right? So as you go from Sec 2 to Sec 3, you start taking over leadership positions.
What's a CCA?
NCCC. National Cadet Corps C. So fitness was a really big component. You have shit ton of push-ups, PT, do kayaking, water sports, all that stuff. And
you had to dive as well?
dive? No. I think very few people could apply for the naval diving course,
Wow.
which was a basic diving course. It was a badge by itself. You actually, when you actually go and train with NDU, the naval diving unit, and that was quite a sign of like upsness, if we use the term from the time. But for the most part, I needed to get fit enough to do push-ups because the kind of like the house rule was you don't punish people to do push-ups if you can't do double it yourself, right? So you want to make people do 50 to 100. You must be at least able to do 100. I actually had to validate that with one of my friends because of like a training plan cock up. I made a friend do 50. I did one set of 50 and then I did another set of 50 after. Just to prove the point. Right? But for the most part, when we are punishing juniors, you're like, okay, you do 20, you do 30, small.
I would say leading by example.
You must, So the people who can't do a lot of push-ups, they don't really like punish the juniors, and they're not really as motivated. But hey, that aside, the training part was I needed to get strong enough to do the push-ups. But if you're 110 fat and like 38% body weight, 38% body fat, how the hell would you get there? Right. So me being me, I did the classic teenage thing, go onto the internet and try and Google how to get stronger. That led me to the very well-known program, Strongest 5x5.
5x5.
Yeah. Most of you would know it. It's pretty much cultural phenomenon at that time. This was in 2012.
Squat deadlift.
Yes, 2012.
Squat
bench deadlift. Yeah. So squat is on all days. It's a 3-day program. Every single thing is 5x5 except for deadlift. Deadlift is a 1x5. Because there's no way to do 5x5 at like 100 plus kilograms. For the most part, your spine will die. You have like 5x5 squats first.
You done the squat first, then you still.
So it's squat. Then on the bench days you have bench and you have Henley row. Then on your deadlift day it's going to be squat, overhead press, and deadlift. And deadlift can be whatever style you want.
Which is something that I would think will be more holistic, because I mean, all of us have gone through NS and coming from military, especially in terms of fitness background, why push-ups? And half the time, I mean, we sit in front of a desk, we sit in front of computers all day long, we actually have very, very hard shoulders. There is not much emphasis on like lengthening the spine, doing a chin-up. People say that the holy grail of fitness will be able to do a pull-up or a chin-up. Instead, and half, I mean, barrier entry per se, doing push-ups is actually the easiest thing to do, but why this emphasis on doing push-ups and not other form of exercises that are actually a lot more holistic? Something for that the military should actually look into.
I believe the main reason is because push-ups is a very easy form of corporal punishment to dish out.
Right.
If you've been in any kind of leadership position, you will know that.
Yeah.
Hold on, knock it down.
Yeah, but I mean, if I were to like, okay, run to the chin-up bar, kick the chin-up bar and do like knock 10 to 12 chin-ups. I mean,
You know what's worse than push-up? I think if you change it.
You do pause push-ups.
No, you just do plank.
Oh yeah.
And just don't tell them how long you're gonna hold there for.
Very true.
Yeah.
The alternative aside from planks is that you do a push-up.
Yeah.
Tell them to hold the isometric at the bottom.
Yeah.
Did
Let
that
it
before.
come out.
Yeah.
I've been a victim of that. I know how
Me
it
too.
feels.
Me
You
too.
Hold it there, 30 seconds. At that point, most people just like, never mind, screw it. Can't take it anymore.
At your stage, do you still have that? That's my era. We do it on the hands, on the parade square, at 12 p.m.
So
Burning hot.
Road.
occasionally.
Occasionally, you still have that. Okay.
Yeah.
You still.
I mean, for the worst of the days
Yeah.
was a basketball court.
Okay.
And we were all preparing for foot drills, but no one was listening. So the master sergeant major was like, "Hey yo, you all, why don't you come down here, sit down. 36-degree weather.
Oh shit.
The ground had been cooking for about 3 hours. It was 2 p.m. Sit down."
Hot ass.
At the point, everyone's butt was sizzling, so you start trying to sit on your boots instead of sitting on
Yeah.
your ground. Yeah. Then he was like, "Oh, you all want to do drills now? Don't want, I sit down longer. It's fine. I'm good." Then he walked back into the training shed.
That's a
Everyone's
neat
like
way of
cooking.
punishment, man.
Oh, 15 minutes break. Okay, training shed. Okay, 15 minutes over. Back out. Sit down. Then that was the worst of it. They didn't even need a whole push-up position. It's like just sit down. Your 4 butt cooks. You know?
So it'll be a lot worse. I mean, there are many different forms of punishment.
Yes.
Right. I mean, change parade and
Change parade is inefficient though. Such a waste of time.
disco.
You mean which perspective? As a victim or as an executor?
I mean,
Of this
both
point?
ways, you know.
Both ways.
I mean, I was a victim of a disco many times, and they were hated
Yes.
it.
Because I've also done a change parade before, and my change parade comes with my bag.
Yeah.
So, because part of the vocation recon, right, is that your Alice pack goes wherever you go. So,
Right.
Oh.
so you change, bring your Alice pack, put it down in front of you. Oh, go change back. Number 4, Alice pack comes with you.
Oh my god. that's
LBV
a
comes
lot.
with you as well.
Wow.
So you're not supposed to wear LBV if you're in your PT kit, right? So you just take it, put it on top of your number 4, but you can put it back on you and you bring it back down, yes, but it's such a pain in the ass. Yeah. But fun ways of punishment would probably be, I mean, you can always make people march rounds and rounds and rounds, and you slowly subtract them out until you get the people who are causing everyone to cock up. And then everyone's like all the bad apples are like pointing fingers at each other, like cocking up at the end.
But okay, in terms of all the punishments, which would be the one you would actually say that actually got you the fittest?
The fittest.
Right. I mean, we're talking about purpose here because like sometimes some people they just punish just for the sake of
Okay, it's a
punishment.
clear-cut training violation, so should not be saying this. So
No.
I won't say location, but
Yeah.
approximately 2,000 push-ups in 5 days, 1 week.
Serious.
Because
2,000 push-ups in 5 days.
so the average
400 days.
up to 600.
Oh, serious.
Because
Sick.
when I entered this camp, we got our bunks, right? They were really fucking anal about having our bunks be clean, right? So even the dust behind the light switches, electric pipe, even like underneath the bed, the beds.
I'm the asshole. Last time I was an instructor, I'm the asshole.
Any bit of dust that you find, right?
Yeah.
20.
20
So
years.
area cleaning for the first week after going to this camp. Pretty much every single time is like, okay, carry on about 60, then you come back up, you have about another 20 minutes area clean, then come back down, we'll check it again, then you guys really never learn a lesson on 60 again, yeah. What the hell, man?
So what is the lesson? You say you never learned your lesson. What is a lesson?
Oh, you must make every single dimension of the room clean, you know? Even the cobwebs in the tiny corner over there. Even
What's
the
the base, man?
even
Where was
the
it?
jobs-
This was in Singapore mainland or was
Hey,
it
hey,
on the
hey,
other?
it's a secret thing. Like,
Oh,
you cannot say.
Within Singapore.
Singapore.
Within Singapore is the correct answer.
And
But the thing is, I just cannot reconcile why only do push-ups and not anything else, not squats, not sit-ups, not
No,
in terms. I mean, in terms of being holistic, and it's always push-ups as the.
I don't think punishing people was meant to be holistic.
No,
Yeah.
I mean it's not so much of punishment, but I mean in terms of like getting fit or fitness, as in everybody says that push-up is the complete exercise. But then again,
It's not.
squats.
It's
squats
not really.
Squats are the king of all exercises.
I don't think so.
Even I don't think squats are the key.
yeah, I don't
I
think.
mean Tom Platz and Fred Hatfield would probably have something to say about that.
Well, yes, because they are blessed with big quads, right? If there's no complete exercise in my opinion. There's only a rather complete complex in my opinion, which
Yeah.
is the bear complex, and even there you still need to throw in like additional movements.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you share a bit about the bear complex?
So
The
bear
audience.
complex is a very simple. So a complex first and foremost is any kind of exercise sequence that
Yeah.
is done without your hands leaving the bar.
Right.
So barbells and dumbbells tend to be the simplest case of this. Like,
Yeah.
you're just holding on to the blind thing, right?
Right.
They can, for dumbbells at least you can twist your arms, but for
Right.
barbells you can't.
Mm.
So the bear complex is a barbell sequence where you start in deadlift.
Mm.
It's a clean deadlift because what you're going to do is you're going to deadlift, you're going to clean it up, front squat, stand back up, overhead press, stick on the back squat, behind the neck press, back into your front rack, and then you need to not let it drop out your hands, but you need to catch it, bottom position. That's
So
bear complex.
this is a sequence of movement
Yeah.
done in the sequence, then you
Usually
repeat the
a
cycle.
complex would be a sequence of 3 exercises, right?
No, it's as many exercises
As many.
you want.
There's
but
a lot, man.
Kind of like the under the rule is that your hands don't leave the bar.
Okay.
Yeah. So
But what about Matrix? I thought Matrix is a lot more than 3.
Matrix, I'm not too sure what you're referring to.
Which matrix are you talking about?
Because I always thought that complex would be like 3, and then Matrix would be like 5.
No.
No,
Complex
no.
is just a term to generally refer to any sequence of exercise that is done without handling bars. For example, bear complex is designed in a way that it's one rep of every single
Everything.
thing. Then you just repeat as many times as you want.
But what is it
Yeah.
called bear?
I have no idea.
I was trying to figure out why is that a bear reference?
I mean, if you think
Say
about
right,
bear,
right.
you think about
Okay.
crawling and everything.
Yeah, I have no idea. It's probably because it's meant for tough guys to do, and it's quite a humbling thing. Because what do you think a bear complex is limited by? It's limited by how much you can overhead press.
Yeah, correct.
So probably you're doing like max 60, 80, 100. Rarely ever you see someone do 120. You probably turn into a push press for that.
Correct, exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, if that's the case, then that would be like a flow kind of thing. It'd be like, I mean, most likely you do it a 1 rep.
Yes, but it's flowy in nature, but it's not like your traditional movement flow,
Right.
like
Mm.
animal flow or viper flow,
Yeah.
even a kettlebell flow. It's straight up just a barbell sequential way of getting the bar from the front to the back and back to the front and repeated. Because other complexes are like, I think Vince Del Monte had a complex base.
I haven't heard
traits.
that name in a very long time.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm from the era of training that is kind of like in between everything.
Yeah.
A bit in the middle of too young to be in the old Body Queen Teen Nation days. Tim and Paul Carter were reigning. A bit too old to be in the modern day Gen Z stuff.
I came from the generation where they said Vince Del Monte was actually a hack.
Vince Del Monte is, I wouldn't say it's not a hack, just very questionable.
Yeah, exactly.
Because 5 times 12, right?
Right.
For 5 exercises is pretty disgusting for complex.
Right.
5 times 12.
Yeah, my heart was about to explode. So I did this at home. It was essentially you start with a row,
Yeah.
then you go into overhead press, and you go into back squat.
Same
3
way.
exercises. 5 times 12.
Which was why I actually got Which was why I got the idea that a complex was 3 exercises.
Yeah. So it can be more. So if let's say you want to do kettlebells, right?
Yeah.
There's if you're holding just one kettlebell, of
Yeah.
course the options are a lot more and you can switch. You can technically switch hands.
arms, yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Even if you have 2 kettlebells, there's still a lot of options. You can do a lot of swings, a lot of rotary
Definitely.
movements. But with a barbell, because it doesn't bend.
Yeah, correct. You can't,
As
move
in
your hands at
front,
all. Yeah.
it's either in
It's
front or
either in
behind.
front or behind.
There's no way I can like put it by the side and
Yeah.
I'm going to do some weird around the whole thing. It's not gonna happen. So that's the nature
I mean, the
of complex.
closest you can, I mean, not that it's impossible, but the closest you can do is a halo, but nobody's going to do a 50, 60 kg halo around your head.
I would have Eddie Hall shoulders if I was that kind of that strong, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then talk about all these strong people out there. You have some influence about anime, especially there's Dragon Ball. Tons of them, right? I think the earliest one is like Dragon Ball is the most iconic one.
Dragon
And-
Ball is the most iconic.
Yeah.
Dragon Ball
No!
yes.
Back to differ. Slam dunk. Slam dunk.
Strength training.
Train.
Well, they do push-ups and they do squats and all kind of shit. I mean,
So Dragon Ball if you follow Dragon Ball from start to finish, right?
Yeah.
Dragon Ball is by itself one whole manga. Z is technically a continuation of the Dragon Ball manga.
Right.
Yes.
So what happened was Kid Goku was basically a martial arts prodigy.
Right.
Was raised by first Son Gohan
yeah, correct.
and then by the Kami Sennin. So
Wait,
But-
Son Gohan is the guy with the turtle shell and the glasses,
yeah,
right?
Kami Sennin.
And what age do you start to watch Dragon Ball? Because Dragon Ball was quite
Like 5 years old, Kid Central.
years old.
Yeah, Kid Central, 5 years old.
I mean, I remember reading the Qilong 2 Dragon Ball, not the Z, but
Yeah, but the inspiration for the training came
Yes.
because of this fellow who did a blog. So I think his name was Stephen Ross.
Mhm.
He started off this blog known as Real Anime Training,
Okay.
where he would try to either take the training verbatim from the animes or the mangas.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he would try to create something that might bring about the
Super Saiyan Physique.
yeah. So pretty much things like that. So the one that I did the most back in those days was the Goku Gravity Room workout. It was very
How you create that? How do we create that?
No,
I was
that
thinking
one-
about that as
That one
well.
was dead simple.
Wait.
Because but we can't really do that.
Yeah.
The original one was 10 rounds,
Yeah.
10 push-ups, 10 sit-ups or crunches,
Mm.
10 squats, and 1 minute of shadow boxing. So if you have limited space, that's a really good way to get in like a very simple.
What's the
repetition.
But that ends up being very One Punch Man like, very push, no pull, no.
Well, you must understand that Goku didn't exactly have a pull-up bar in the gravity room back when he was flying to Namek. So
Okay.
I was expecting something to increase the gravitational force or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
if you want like more well-rounded
Yeah.
programs, right? Then there's a lot more other
Like
series that actually produces like a workout that
Which one?
is much more well-rounded, I would say. So Grappler Baki has a lot of training sequences because there's a lot of really strong characters, right?
Yeah.
And
Too strong. They are too strong.
Too strong. And the characters are all inspired in some way or another by a real life person. For example, you have Biscuit Oliver. Biscuit Oliver is inspired by Sergio Oliver, and not Julian, but the origin of Sergio Oliver.
Yeah, correct.
So Sergio Oliver is a classic.
Bodybuilder.
I believe and please don't lynch me for saying this. I think he's Cuban, and he's
Was
he
he
was
Cuban?
one- I'm not too sure. That's why I'm not too sure. So he was one of the, I think, Mr. Universes or Mr. Olympia.
Mr. Olympia. I know he actually, I mean, the story, the very famous story of how Arnold actually conned him of Mr. Universe, that is clear cut,
Legendary.
legendary.
Yeah, but there's a actual proper bodybuilding program that hits all body parts
Yeah.
by Sergio Oliver. Of course, it's not as efficient as the modern day PPLs, but
Yeah.
it's a 5 or 6 day body part split.
Okay.
But still very intense, still very high volume, very replicative of the olden days. Where
Right.
training was clearly a bit more volume centric.
Right.
Yeah.
It was clearly very much get a pump, and the pump is your stimulus for most of your growth. It doesn't take into
Pump, muscle pump or pump as in steroid pump?
both. So, but in most of the olden days training methods, because most people did not really understand intensity intensity and proximity of failure as we do now.
Right.
Few people adopted a very mental or very mental way of training where they try to.
But Menza, how many warm-up sets do you think he actually did? I'm sure it's not one set all out and then he
No
go
lah.
crazy.
It depends what. So like something like squats you probably need to take like 3 warm-up sets.
Yeah,
to get there.
definitely.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make sense to go to like maybe a 400-pound squat
Right.
for one set of failure.
We never do that. We never
One
do
set
that.
of failure where your legs are actually shivering and you're
Yeah.
peeing in your pants and
Chances are it won't be a barbell squat, it will probably be a hack squat, it might be a leg
leg
press or
press
something.
probably.
Bicep curls, preacher curls, shit like that.
Yeah.
You know? But definitely there will be warm-up sets. Especially as we all understand
Yeah.
warm-up sets get more and more as
Right.
we go heavier and heavier.
Right, definitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because we need more prep.
Correct. There has to be a lot of mobility work done beforehand. The heart rate must be at a certain level and everything.
Yeah, but the heart rate is a bit harder to manage unless you have a
Yeah.
very good tracker.
I think the main thing is the feel of it.
Yeah,
As you ramp up to the warm up.
which goes back to this deadlift and whiskey thing. Just boggle.
Why do you go back suddenly back to
I mean,
whiskey and
it's like-
deadlift?
it's like, I mean, okay,
What?
imagine if Mike Menzer actually did deadlift and whiskey.
I don't think he's taking that set to failure.
You will never go.
I don't think he's taking that set to failure.
I don't think it will be 100%.
Yeah.
I don't think it will be
Or maybe he
100%.
wants to finish the bottle, so he's like, okay, one shot, and then after that, I deadlift, and one shot again.
I
and
don't
deadlift.
think his workouts are a drinking game, but
Yeah.
aside from that, but back to the point, which is
Yeah.
the mental way of training was not as popularized back then
Right.
as it was to the 5 to 6 sets per body part,
Right, definitely.
super high reps, feel the palm, slow eccentrics, tempo based training.
Right. So
Yeah.
which would you prescribe to? The Menzer way or German volume training where more is best?
Nowadays we don't even really care about these one-dimensional ways of focusing on one variable. Nowadays we look at volume as something that we need to interplay with our load, with our intensity,
Exactly.
RPE,
Right,
RR.
right.
Because if we can't, let's say we use purely GVT, right? GVT is a 10 by 10
Yeah.
with maybe about 1 minute of rest in between. I've tried GVT. I know how cancerous it feels in bench. It makes
Fucking hell.
you.
I mean, I do GPT on squats all the time and it hurts.
Of course,
the next
it
day.
hurts like a bitch. And chances are you're never actually getting close to failure any of these sets.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because if you do, that's essentially 10 down sets or 9 down sets.
Right.
So GVT by design is not something that we can sustain.
Right.
It's a lot of volume. You always need to be reducing load. You always need to be spending time dropping weights.
Right.
And it becomes a tracking nightmare.
But I mean, for me, I would use GVT more on checking on my form, making sure that in terms of
I will not check form when I do GVT, bro.
Because I have to drop weights. I have to drop
Then
weights.
you're not doing the
volume,
intensity that
yeah,
you
the
require as well.
the
you know?
volume, but at the same time, coming from a person who is almost hitting 50, and if you're going to do GVT, like say every week,
Wouldn't
what?
even bother.
There were times where like, okay, for the fun of it, you do GVT every week. It's like you want that resiliency, so you more often than not you don't want to get injured the next day for work and for anything else. More form based than intensity based. And
Yes.
just putting
But
in that work.
I think the corollary to GVT is that GVT was designed as a rep scheme to get you a sick pump. More
Yeah.
than anything else.
Fucking
the
good pump, man.
The pump distorts your perception
Right.
around the pain from the pump.
Correct. No, but the thing is, my very first set, what if I am very susceptible to the pump, then my very first set, I get the pump.
Good for you.
Good for you, man.
Well, then there will be no point to do a GVT anymore?
Not really. So the way that we must try to look at training is that we cannot look at it from the perspective of just one set. We must look at it from the perspective of all the sets and the cumulative effect across weeks and
Correct.
weeks and weeks of
Correct.
training. So if
That will go against what Mike Menzer actually says about.
so if you look at most of the modern breakdowns of Menzer's training, you'll find that there's quite a lot of criticism for how little volume he did.
Exactly.
Mostly because yes, you can go to failure, right?
Right.
But you definitely have more in the tank.
Right.
You can definitely get more stimulus out of every single session. It's
And-
not the most efficient.
And let's say getting to fail, in your terms, right? how does it feel technically if you are really working towards failure? What is the by right?
Find me a
aspect of
bucket.
that?
Find me the closest bucket nearby where I can actually
yeah,
throw.
because we get like people like, oh, train to failure, but you're still walking, you know, it's still like chilling. So what is really train to failure?
It's a very big definition.
Yeah, it's a very big
It is-
definition.
Okay, big definition. Also,
Yeah.
you also need that 48 hour before you can actually really measure. I always feel that.
72 hours is kind of the benchmark for perfect muscular recovery, right?
Perfect.
But we all know that's rarely ever the case, especially
Yeah.
if you do have the repeated bulk effect,
Right.
which is the effect where you are more resistant to
Yeah.
eccentric damage
Yeah,
after a bout of training,
Right.
because you've exposed the muscles to the stress previously.
Exactly.
But the point is kind of if you're going to technical failure,
Yeah.
which is the point where your technique breaks down,
Right.
then
Your muscles
chances-
cannot even lift. Cannot even.
No,
no,
technical
no.
breakdown is a bit
It's
more
serious.
gentle because we are looking at the point where you start to see like massive abbreviations or deviations in your pressing technique. For example, bench press. Normally, if you press the J curve on let's say it's 6 rep,
Yeah.
you start to press straight up. So the most efficient route instead. We count that as a rep of technical failure.
Okay.
So then we normally seize the set there, give you some rest, and maybe go on to the next set or cut off training. Absolute failure is what we normally refer to when we go to true failure, because that's where you must do your repetitions until you cannot lift the weight. You cannot accomplish a proper repetition.
Right. But okay. But having said that, if I were to use machines and I don't have a J curve, would that not be counted?
So your technical failure will be a point where, so for example, you're pressing, right? You start,
Yeah.
I will start to internally rotate your shoulders.
Right.
and more,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
So you try to go for more efficient ways of executing the exercise that
Right.
requires compensations of your entire physique.
Exactly.
So that's where technical failure is. It's a softer way of looking at failure,
Right.
but it's also a bit harder to like rigidly describe. Whereas absolute failure is quite straightforward. I
Yeah.
cannot pick up the weight. I cannot move the weight.
Right.
It's stuck on my chest. I can't pick it.
Yeah.
That's when we can like, okay, we know that you're absolute failure. We count every single rep before that.
Okay.
And chances are, if you're going to absolute failure, you will have like a lot of carryover fatigue in the next set.
Right.
Technical failure, chances are you would have much less fatigue carried over. You will be able to execute repetitions pretty much very similarly. Maybe like 1 or 2 reps will be lesser, and you start to experience your technical failure there for the next set.
What would your go-to exercise be if you are, experiencing failure and
If I want to experience failure,
yeah?
Experience failure.
I mean, we're all talking about the cumulative exercise effect, is it?
yes.
Right. So I mean, the go-to exercise, like say for me, is always squats. I mean, if I can squat, I hope I will be able to squat when I'm 90 years old.
I have a good answer to this. I
Okay.
can go for some kind of row, some kind of cable row. The reason being that,
Okay.
first things first, when you're doing any kind of row, right,
Yeah.
you must consider how much absolute weight you're moving.
Right.
If you're trying to pick up a 100 kg barbell,
Right.
it's 100 damn kilograms of steel, iron, whatever the hell it is.
Right.
But if you're holding a handle and it's pulling approximately, let's say you're holding a handle, it's pulling approximately the equivalent of 100 kilograms worth of load. It doesn't feel like 100 kilograms worth of load. It feels a bit lighter because you're only pulling the handle.
Yes.
and then
You're talking about the
cable is
sitter
pushing.
row, right?
Yeah, seated
Oh,
row.
yeah.
So it's a lot easier to go to failure or go deeper into failure.
You're talking about the constant tension.
No, not even about
No.
concentration. So it's about
Okay.
having an exercise which allows you to grind harder.
Right.
Because if the barbell ain't moving, it ain't moving.
Right,
It's hard
right.
to grind. But on a handle that you're pulling, it's a lot easier to grind because you're overcoming a lot less inertia.
Right.
You're working a pulley system.
Because of
that
the
is-
police, lah.
Yeah, roughly a similar amount of torque that you're
Right.
trying to overcome.
Okay.
But you're moving the handle, not the bloody weight stack itself.
Right. Okay.
So the another reason why I would say a cable row, right, is because if we can dichotomize exercises, there's two kinds. There's a compressive and there's a destructive or expensive exercise. The compressive exercise where it directly compresses the joints that is acting on it. So bench press, a squat,
Yeah.
Right.
directly compresses knee joint,
Correct.
the wrist, all that.
Okay.
Then you have destructive or things that pull or separate the joint. So a row, right, a cable row,
Right.
it's pulling my shoulder apart, my elbow apart, my wrist apart. And it's a lot safer to work an exercise that is
So it's more of a
destructive.
lengthening, lah.
yes, it's lengthening not just the muscle, but also like the soft tissues in
Soft
between.
tissue joints.
Rather than crushing my soft tissues in between.
Right. Speaking of lengthening, you guys go ahead. I need to go and lengthen my bladder.
Oh my
This
god.
is raw, I got
Hey,
really raw.
there's no commercial break. Okay, so back to
Yeah, but that's,
I don't think podcast has this such thing toilet break.
normally podcasts don't have toilet breaks.
Yeah.
But the idea behind the whole compressive distractive thing is that which one would you rather be under? Or which would you rather be doing if you're going to failure? Something that is threatening to crush you, or something that is pulling you away and you can let go at any time without any risk to yourself.
So you also look at the perspective of safety,
Yes.
as well.
Because failure can kill you,
Yeah.
very much so. Especially if, let's say, it is a squat, right? And you don't have something to jettison, or you're not trained to jettison the weight.
I mean, the recent death of exercise. I mean, you already mentioned squat. I mean, there's an
Yes.
influencer who get crushed by his squat. And then the other one, I think in China, he's just doing bench press by himself in his own gym, but he crushed at the neck itself.
Yeah.
So I think in that perspective, yeah, I can agree that more compressive aspect of that. And your point is you can't have that
If I'm
feel safe
Yeah,
component.
if you're going to failure, you should try to build in safety measures. So
Yeah.
like machines, they tend to be a lot better of a choice compared to free weights. Unless you can throw the free weights, then please by all means,
Yeah.
right? But even then, like let's say overhead movements.
Yeah.
If I am doing an overhead machine press where there's a space in between versus I'm holding a dumbbell overhead, if I drop the dumbbell, it can hit me or it can
Yes.
fall anywhere else. But the machine would never hit me. At most, it would just like clonk back down, make a really loud noise, and I'll be embarrassed.
So you talk about compression and expansion. You have this thing called what, domain expansion.
Doing expansion.
Yeah, it kind of play of a word of one anime that you follow as well.
Yes.
And can you share a bit more about that?
Alright.
Domain expansion.
So, Domain Expansion Athletics Coaching is a partnership between me and a fellow coach friend of mine. His name is Joel. He specializes in powerlifting as well as movement mechanics, as well as inching towards more of the physiotherapy side of things.
Yes.
I handle more on the body composition and recreational training aspects of things. The reason why we chose Domain Expansion Athletics is because one, we needed to find some way of throwing in some form of athleticism into it. Powerlifting is still a sport.
Yeah.
Can't deny that.
It's a sport.
It is a sport.
Well,
You didn't compete it before.
Beg to differ, but I mean anything could be a sport. Physical 100 is a sport. Chess is also a sport.
So part of
I like to see my heart rate when I play Gary Kasparov.
yes. So maybe a slight tangent. So part of what we learn in sport management is that the definition of a sport is very simple.
Yeah.
For something to be a sport, there simply needs to be a competitiveness aspect. There needs to be a clear-cut rules, and chances are you need to have a prize, whether that prize is ego or whether that prize is monetary.
Yeah.
So if I can set up a structured rule, any kind of game, and I get someone to compete over it, and there's a clear winner, there's a clear loser, or there's a way of making a draw, it can be a sport.
So CrossFit and high rocks will be also a sport.
Yes, they are very much self-defined sports. There's a competition structure. People are competing across events, even though High Rocks is technically one event by itself. CrossFit Games is multiple events, multiple different workouts that are construed as events, and across multiple days, there's a clear price structure. There can be a team version of it.
Right.
You simply need to find a definition. So chess is also sport, right? Because two people, you can win, you can lose.
Trying to outtake each other.
Yeah, exactly. But it's more of a mental sport than it is like a pure physical sport. Of course, there is a physical component. You move, tap the timer. Okay, but back to Domain Expansion Athletics. When Joel and I started it off, I wanted to call it Domain Expansion because of our personal philosophy, which is that we are both very intrinsically motivated individuals of fitness.
Okay.
We try to pursue mastery over our skill sets and achieving innate goals rather than achieving very overt external goals. So
Can you share a bit, clarify that a bit in a...
So innate goals are goals that deal more with personal self-satisfaction, wherein external goals are goals that deal more with prizes, deal more with externally driven motives. So an example of an internal goal is I would like to achieve a physique that I can be proud of, and I'm the only one who needs to be proud of that, whether it's look in the mirror or whatnot. Whereas if you want to make it a bit more external, it will be I want to look good for a bodybuilding competition. I want want to win the competition. And I want the judges to decide that out of 6 people, I am number 1, not number 2, 3, up to 6. That is why intrinsic versus the extrinsic, internal versus external goal is kind of like. So Joe and I are individuals who tend to look towards more the internal, but of course we understand that we must balance this against the external goal, because both of these kind of goals can be very good motives for people.
Yes.
And there's no way we are purely just one, right?
That's true.
Life presents us many ways of having internal goals to look towards and external goals to look for. So then, domain expansion is from the anime series Jujutsu Kaisen. I trust you watch it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Jujutsu Kaisen. But from there, it is a technique that is a jujutsu technique that is lauded as having mastery over your innate jujutsu, like innate domain. So it's something that you're able to realize to the world. Since both of us were individuals who sought personal mastery, I was like, yeah, domain expansion sounds cool. It is well embodying of our personal ideologies, and it's very trendy, it's very current. So if we are going to start some kind of coaching group right now, we are going to need to try and keep it to something trendy and modern that people might actually want to follow. And since Jujutsu Kaisen is pretty much peaking this year, we've decided to make this year the year where we start this up and we try to officially make a official proper coaching business out of it.
Okay.
Yes. So maybe by the time Jujutsu Kaisen ends, right?
I was thinking about next year you're gonna change the name, and then let's say 2025, 25 you're gonna change the name again.
How many
Just
episodes
every-
is Jujutsu Kaisen?
So there's currently 2 seasons. So there's a season 1, there's a season 2. If I'm not wrong, it's about a total of 50 episodes by now. So there's season 1 and 2 are both about 24, 25 episodes each. And the manga is currently at 256, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
Around there. Yeah. And it's currently at one of the peak parts of the series where it's the final somewhat the final fight. It's supposed to be what wraps up the series as a whole.
It's still
No
a freaking long
spoilers.
fight.
No
Yeah.
spoilers. We don't want to give people spoiler warnings.
Yeah. It's a long fight. It's a long fight.
It's a long fight.
It's a long fight.
Yeah. And
Why not One Punch Man? Come on.
One Punch Man coaching is so generic. And the thing is, One Punch Man, the One Punch Man workout has been out for.
Yeah, I know it is,
Very
and
long
it's
time.
very, very unbalanced.
It is.
It
By
is,
design, it was. Think about it. The One Punch Man workout was designed as a joke because Saitama. Okay.
But people actually follow it. That's
Yes.
the ridiculousness of it.
Yeah.
Especially during COVID, everybody just did push workouts.
Very much. It's a calisthenic workout. You're not supposed to one-dimensionally follow it if you are a thinking person. You are supposed to
But
modify and
so
adapt
many,
workouts to
so
you.
many thinking people actually followed it, which just boggles my mind.
Probably for content.
Yeah,
Probably for
content.
Yeah.
It's a sexy
It's like,
content.
if I can link my name to a very well-known series,
Right.
I can probably leverage the audience that looks at that series, which is basically what I'm doing, right?
Right.
Which is why I call it domain expansion.
Okay.
And the idea here being that the One Punch Man workout was designed as a joke. It was pretty much.
It's a joke.
Yeah, pretty much is a joke. Because what it was supposed to represent was, or this is kind of like the underlying idea behind One Punch Man, which is how do you get stronger? And this is something that's reviewed in more recent times. How you get stronger is that you must approach monsterization.
Alright.
Yeah.
And approaching monsterization requires you to get close to death.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a joke that this workout, 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and 10 km running, basically almost kills Saitama every single time he does it, because he does it so hard.
Alright.
And as a result of that, he keeps getting stronger and stronger and stronger because he keeps getting close to death. That's how he broke his limits.
Right.
So it's not meant to be something that is a proper training program. Otherwise, we look to the more modern science-based training program templates that are out there already.
Yeah, we can't do that on the clients. We can't train them close
Honestly,
to death.
if I'm lazy,
Close to death.
If I'm lazy, probably could, but the person will probably leave your coaching team.
Yeah.
No, I just don't see why. I mean, we always talk about having purposeful movement and everything. Where do you actually see the purpose? I mean, if it's a joke, it's a joke. But you see people actually follow wholesale without even thinking. I mean, not just based on just for content or just tagging, but more like, oh, okay, I'm into fitness. Simple enough: 100 sit-ups, 100 push-ups, 100 crunches, 10 km run, and people actually doing it. And from the perspective of exercise therapists, general population, GPP and everything, some movement is better than no movement.
Yes.
But to me, it's like so unbalanced. It just boggles the mind.
Well, first is that I would like to give people the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
I would like to think that anyone who's doing the One Punch Man workout is not just doing the One Punch Man workout. If you're going to be doing 100%,
I would say people would actually do it because it's low barrier of entry.
yes, but doing pull-ups has a moderate barrier of entry, but it's still very accessible, right?
Right.
And I don't see a reason why people wouldn't throw in like a set of 10 pull-ups, a set of a few sets of pull-ups here and there while they're doing this workout
Right.
by itself. It's just that they don't feel it.
Right.
And then when they come out and they're leg spreading for the day 30 kind of like picture, they're like, oh, I actually have like some of the back. It's not just a really puffy chest,
Correct.
right?
Because Bruce Lee also did bodybuilding workouts.
Ah.
Bruce Lee also did.
Yes.
I mean, and you look at how Bruce Lee, how cat-like he is, and how strong and how physically, how much he is able to demand. his
Do you know
body.
how often he trained?
Bruce Lee?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's how, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. It's almost every day.
If I'm not wrong, it's every day.
It's every day.
How many times a day?
I have no
Multiple.
idea. Multiple.
Yeah,
probably.
multiple. At least
Yeah.
3 times.
And,
Three
and,
times.
and we were then I wouldn't, and probably he had the right sense of the science to
Yeah.
know how not to overtax his body.
I actually have
Some
some perspective on that.
So because some people will actually say overtraining, some people were like, oh no.
No, or rather, what I actually read this book on Bruce Lee's training before,
Right.
Yeah.
and Bruce Lee's a really big fan of using isometrics.
Right.
That's-
Yes, that's right.
That's one way he develops his absurd strength for his pound for pound body weight. It's another way that he reduces the amount of overall joint stress volume that he's getting when he's training. Because
Right.
think about his martial art training.
Yes.
If he's hitting something, there's the recoil and or the reverse.
The
forces that go into
eccentric foot loads.
Yeah.
Yep.
Eccentric foot
He's
loads.
doing bodybuilding work.
Right.
The only problem with that we could say speculatively is because he's at such a low percentage body fat year round, it's
Yeah.
hard for him to put on muscle.
Right.
Because otherwise you have to put on fat.
Right.
But if you put on fat, it slows down his speed,
Right.
which you can't have.
Mm.
But
That's
maybe
the
if he's like Greg Doucette, slightly higher than maintenance calories.
But Greg Doucette is sauce to the gills,
I know. But, yeah.
which is a very big difference from Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee
Yeah.
is literally lean, mean, killing machine.
I know. Yeah.
It's going for speed, right? As well. Speed.
It's pure speed and power.
Pure speed and power,
You
yeah.
just see how fast he kicks.
How much force he can generate. His force generation is unbelievable.
Quite ridiculous
Yeah.
for someone who is like low 50s.
Yeah.
And they always say the myth. I don't know is it true. They say he need to slow down his punches and kick because back then the camera can't really capture.
It's fast.
Yeah,
It's fast.
it's too fast. So every
Yeah.
punch or kick you saw it is
Yeah,
deliberately
actually
slow down.
Slow down.
for that.
Because and it's probably captured in 30 FPS. It's just,
Yeah.
otherwise it's just
Choo, choo. Just flashes of blur movement.
yeah. I would really hate to be in a boxing ring with him because
Yeah.
before you know it, I'm on the floor. I'm like, oh, what?
You
Did
can't
he?
see.
Oh, 3 different punches. Oh, 3 different spots. I couldn't.
And 3 different angles.
Yeah. Then turns out they're all on my chin.
Yeah.
So that's how Bruce Lee manages his entire training volume, training multiple times a day. One is very skills based. He
Right.
probably does a lot of shadow boxing and a lot of like
Yes.
bodyweight training.
Right.
Reduces the overall eccentric loading of
And
the body.
load on the joints.
Bodybuilding work is generally much slower.
Right.
You can make it a lot less compressive by choosing more destructive exercises.
Right.
So instead of like your traditional tricep push downs, overhead pressing, you go for something that is like perhaps more of like a behind the back tricep extension, arms all the way back. At least that pulls the joint away instead of directly compressing it.
Right. Instead of
You're
compressing
gonna
the
do it.
spine and everything.
Yeah. Then do a lot more pulls than you do pushes, or at least be strategic about your pushing. So more bodyweight push-ups for his power instead of like raw absolute strength.
Right.
Then isometrics to take the joint loading off, but get all your proprioceptive work in, get all your joint angle specific force production. So at this angle, here and there. I know he does this door frame press for overhead work, where
Right.
you go under his door frame, he plies up and then he just push
Yeah.
as high as he can.
Correct.
So it's compressive, yes, but
But it's
since
isometric
he's-
as well.
yeah, but since he's the one who's managing how much like, reverse force is going to him, right?
Right.
He decides how effective or how painful it is.
Yeah.
So that's like one way of working about it. It truly is not a very modern way of training.
Right.
Nowadays it's a bit more one-dimensional or two-dimensional. Bruce Lee had a very three-dimensional, very well-rounded way.
Yes.
Yeah,
He
but then
also,
again-
yeah.
Then again, he is like.
Then again,
movie
he
stars,
then again he is Bruce Lee lah. I mean,
Yeah.
he was like way ahead of his time. He still is way ahead of his time.
Yes.
I mean, you put your classic bodybuilding pyramid type program versus his,
And also because of his other forms of physical activity, I'm sure he trains his kicks, his punches, his movement, his style. I mean, he was a cha-cha champion.
Very much so.
Yeah, so
That's why he has the sassy like
Yeah.
long dancing build.
yeah, correct.
Mm.
Yeah,
Despite being rather short, he has long legs. So
Yes.
his kicks nasty.
yeah.
How do you get to Bruce Lee again?
Well, I mean, we're talking about movement and we're talking about muscles and overtraining and everything. I mean, we were talking about anime Jiu-Jitsu Kaisen is very much.
But Bruce
so-
Lee is not inside.
Yeah, but okay, I put every comic book character, and you talk about martial arts, you talk about fighting. I mean, Bruce Lee will always come up in the conversation.
Yes. I think it's for you.
One Punch Man was probably the 1-inch punch.
Actually,
probably
no.
inspired.
No.
No.
It's no 1 inch
What?
punch.
One Punch Man is a play on the term Unpun Man, which
Okay.
is Unpun is basically a fruit.
Okay.
Do you know Ampan Man?
Yeah.
No.
The series by itself as well.
Yeah, it's
But
a
the-
rap man, I can call it.
I mean, I only know Slam Dunk,
So
so.
Bruce Lee was effectively the father of MMA in some sense.
Right.
That's true.
Because
Yeah,
of
that's
Jiu-Jitsu.
right.
Yeah, because Jigundo and.
So when you have a manga series or anime series, any series that features some form of mixed martial arts, confirm there will be a reference to
Yeah.
Bruce Lee.
One of the more modern series that looks at martial arts quite a fair bit is called Kengan Ashura. There's a character who uses Jikundo.
Oh shit!
Yeah, in the very
It's rare
classic,
now.
the very
Yeah.
classic style that you see Bruce Lee do. And there's also a character who he's a fighter, but he's an actor. So part of his
Play on
Yes,
Oh.
his stick, his stick
Oh,
is
his
actually
stick, right?
wear
It's
yellow and
mimicking.
black.
Oh.
the part of his shtick is mimicking people.
Okay.
And he mimicked Bruce Lee for one of the components of his fight, but of course he lost like really fast.
Okay.
And it's not just in Japanese anime. In I believe a Korean manhwa,
Yeah.
the God of High School. That's what it's called.
Oh yeah,
Journey.
I may want to check out that
It's,
soon.
it's
I heard
essentially a
about that.
journey to the West parody because the main character
Oh
is super
shit!
common. Yeah. Think like he has the Noibo, he has the headband, everything. He has the golden eyes,
Okay, now I want to check that out.
and he has the cloud, the golden cloud Kintoon, or I believe it's called Gyundungu or something.
Because it's Korean.
Yeah. They can still like fire lightning and stuff lah.
Oh shit!
But there's
Because
a
the
female
Koreans to
character.
copy everything that Chinese is doing,
Yeah.
since the Chinese are actually copying
I
everything.
mean, there are a lot of
Culture
reference.
really goes so far.
You know, my favorite of an anime fight is Buddha. You know the record of Ragnarok.
Oh, Buna versus Zero Fuku.
Yeah.
And Harjun.
Yes. All the Buddha is fighting. Yeah.
Buddha is
Very
quite
good.
chat. You know?
Cool chat, man. I mean, the Japanese really do quite a lot of reference.
Oh,
Even
it's wild.
yeah, even Jesus.
my-
Jesus was in the audience. Yeah.
There's also a anime series, not series, I think it's a movie. It's Jesus and Buddha essentially going on a road trip. Same young man.
Say yeah, man. Yes.
That is a classic, and I
Yeah,
recommend
it's-
everyone give it a watch if you can. It's hilarious.
Yeah, he can make.
But back to God of High School,
Yes.
there's a female character who actually
Yeah.
is literally just a female Bruce Lee. She
Oh.
uses the nunchucks.
Nunchucks. Okay.
And Marlboro. That's the character inside the God of High School. So she's a direct parody of Bruce Lee inside a Korean manhwa about martial arts. Because the main character uses taekwondo, there's everyone using some martial art or another. You learn all kinds of weird martial art names from all these series. You know?
Wow. Certainly want to check that out because of reference of Journey of the West as well as Bruce Lee.
It's a massive Journey to the West reference. That spans like a very long time.
And please don't tell me she wears yellow,
She has a
yellow
yellow
jumpsuit
tracksuit.
with her black stripes.
Shit, I gotta watch
She
that.
wears a yellow jumpsuit.
I gotta watch that, man.
You have to give it a read and watch.
Yeah, man.
The only thing she doesn't, I think the only thing she doesn't do is go hiya, something like
It's
that.
too much already. can't imagine a girl doing that.
I mean, you can imagine the Koreans actually copying.
Of course. I mean, Korean manhwas tend to be a bit one-dimensional nowadays. There's always the same plot over and over again.
Solo leveling.
Solo leveling it was ripped off, or rather the design was similar to that from another series. I believe that one was Reincarnator, which is like the original of most of the reincarnation stories.
Oh.
It's the,
There's so many reincarnation, right?
yes.
Like
So all of it always
Remonster
Yeah.
just came.
Oh, Remonster is a new one, but
Yeah.
Remonster is not very safe for work.
Yeah, it's
for
not.
most audiences. Because it's about Goblin, right? But it's
It's not PG, man. Don't watch it. Yeah, it's not PG.
What's that? What's the anime? The one about the guy is a nerd. He actually goes to he falls in love with this girl, and actually he's the lead singer, guitar player for this crazy rock band that's like deathcore and everything. Detroit Metal City or I can't
is
remember.
that DMC?
Yeah,
Is this modern? Or is this old?
It's quite old.
It's
quite old.
It's quite old.
This one I'm not too sure.
It's
It
quite
might be
old.
the old DMC.
I think there are two metal kind of anime. One is that.
yeah. That's
The
one.
guys.
I
Then the other one is
I
a
remember
girl.
watching
Is
that. And it's like he writes all his love songs to his girlfriend and everything, and then he.
I know a piano one is like that.
Do you know that one? That one is more like an animal.
Animal.
Yeah. So they are like. I think she's a red panda. But when she's angry, she go to karaoke and sing all the
What's
death
this,
metal.
Dora? No, right?
So I don't know. I forget the name.
I don't think I know.
Okay, so but your all-time anime.
All-time anime.
Or the one that most influential to you.
Influential.
Yeah, to you.
I
To
mean,
your way of life.
Like you said. I mean, you grew up watching it, and or like influenced your training style, your
Okay,
method of
there's
thinking.
there's many like leagues to this.
Yeah.
Mm.
So we're looking at something that influences my training style. Something that got me started.
Right.
It's a series that most people wouldn't know. It's History Strongest Disciple Kenichi.
Oh yeah.
HSDK.
Oh
It's essentially a nerd who gets bullied.
yeah.
He ends up at the dojo,
Mm.
and the dojo has 6 masters. The 6 masters put him through the ringer. He then goes through his high school life, fighting the darndest things, going to different countries, and eventually the story ends by the master punching a nuke into oblivion and ending the story there. That's it. But otherwise, it showcases a lot of different martial arts, and it's what actually got me started into a lot of the more like. It's what got me into the real anime training in the first place. Is looking for how, or there's this one particular scene. So there's a character whose name is Akisame. He does Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, or
Oh yeah,
I'm not sure
Japanese
it's Japanese
Jiu-Jitsu.
Jiu-Jitsu or Aiki.
Mm-hmm.
And his shtick is that he has the most complete muscles in the world.
Just complete muscles.
And how that happens is that there's a certain concept.
Don't tell that to your client. We're going to train
this
towards
is a
complete
fake-
muscle.
I think this is a fake concept, very much so. It's the idea that you can turn muscles from red muscles or white muscles into pink muscles. And this is somewhat based on real physiology.
But you
where
can turn pink meaning what? Like
literally
you-
pink muscles that hold the qualities of both type 1 and type 2 muscle fibers.
But there are 2A and 2B and
Technically it's not 2B, it's 2X.
okay.
2X, yeah.
Yeah, it's a more modern term.
Mm.
And your muscles, technically pink muscles are supposed to take the role of 2X if I'm not wrong. Or 2A. The one which has the
anaerobic endurance kind.
both anaerobic and aerobic
Yeah, yeah.
crossover. Whereas one is purely aerobic,
Right.
and I think 2X is the one with purely
Anaerobic.
anaerobic performance. So white muscle is supposed to be 2X,
Right.
and
Yeah.
red muscle is supposed to be type 1.
Got it.
Akisame managed to train all his muscles and convert them into pink muscle phenotypes. Which is the only 2A phenotypes.
Japanese coming up with the crazy
Hypothesis.
shit.
We're going to find out the training methods.
So because of that, I wanted to do grappling.
Is this going to be inside your Jiu-Jitsu Kaizen domain expansion?
No,
program?
it's,
No, no,
like,
no.
like I said, it's a very scuffed like concept. It's
Yeah.
more like a joke concept, or more like a misinformed concept than anything.
It's quite misinformed.
I mean, I'm already baffled by that anime where the guy with the axe on his head and.
Of The what?
He's got an X on his head or something with a huge body, very, very
Is this done better than Kilomoteru? No,
something,
right?
something I cannot remember. Yeah, some anime with a guy with an X on his head or something.
Is this Naruto and you're talking about Neji?
Yeah, with one eye or something. Cannot remember. I saw it at some cosplay show.
No, I mean there's quite a lot of things that could be there. That's why. You know, there are plenty of characters who have like X on their head. Neji is one of them. And that's the censored version. The censored version. The uncensored one is a swastika, and that's probably why it got censored in the anime.
Yeah.
But aside from that, if we're
There's
talking
another
about,
one. Recently, and it's by this way. Mashler, muscle, muscle, magic.
Muscle Magic. It's really fun.
It's fun to watch.
The manga is amazing.
Yes.
It's massive spoilers, but the Continental Kickboard. That's
Yes.
that's
Watch
literally
it.
out of the world.
Which is your favorite magic? Tricep magic, quadricep magic, erector spinning magic.
It's the punching one, but this one is
Trust
not in the manga. It's not in the anime.
Oh yeah, it's nice.
It's the punching square,
Okay.
where essentially Mash punches one guy, so it starts with 1 punch, 2, 4, 8, then just multiply.
Can't wait for it to release.
Actually, can't wait. It's the second part of the Divine Visionaries exam. Second, third, probably third, where they meet the other students from the other academies.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's quite nice to watch, and especially it's clean and press.
Clean and press.
What did he do?
Huh?
He's the weights.
Oh, he was basically doing a front. He was doing a front raise instead of
It's front race. It's
instead
not
of
clean, right?
It's more. It's technically supposed to be like a power snatch or something. Right?
Yeah.
Like it's basically. You can see no hip movement. That's pure shoulder. Right?
Pro shoulder.
Literally built different. But Mash has done the weirdest training things. Quite literally. And this is probably a spoiler, but he literally trained in the hyperbolic time chamber with God, and then went back to Earth to kick the final villain's ass. So the man actually broke causality so they could work out.
Wow. You watch it, man. Watch it.
Masho.
You've got too many things to watch.
Yeah. I mean, aside from Masho is more like gag anime. If I'm looking for what really started my interest in the martial arts, it's History Strongest Disciple Kenichi.
Yeah.
If it's boxing, it's Hajime no Ippo.
Classic.
It's a classic. George
Classic.
Morikawa. I mean, you take aside the dick jokes, right? That's pervasive throughout the entire storyline. It's actually a really good way of understanding boxing to some degree.
And different style of boxing
different
as
style of
well.
boxing. Like I first heard the term southpaw from
Salmon. This is the one that struck me off.
Yeah, some people might get the term southpaw from the
Movie.
with Jake Gyllenhaal. But I got it from Hajime no Ippo.
Yes.
Because
Same here.
one of Ippo's many challenges, I think in his first 5 or 10 fights.
But the fight left-handed.
Yeah, it's fighting a guy who is a southpaw. Right hand's in front, suddenly your sense of distance is all whack. Because your left hand's in front, his right hand's in front, what you gonna do about that?
Trust the Japanese to actually come up with all sorts of really, really weird concepts. I mean, how much research they actually have to do?
I think George Morikawa, he gets a lot of hands-on experience because he actually owns a gym.
Right.
He owns a boxing gym that is quite well known. And one of the gags inside his story is that the multi-time world champion for multiple weight classes, Takamura, he has like a bronze statue that he puts on top of the Kamogawa gym. And in George Morikawa's actual gym, he has a replica of that,
Wow.
overseeing from like the top of the gym itself. So truly, he does have, I think, a contender. Naoya Inoue is his name, if I'm not wrong. That's his prize fighter from Morikawa's actual gym.
Okay. I think that's it for the podcast. Any other questions you want to ask?
I mean,
But thank you for coming and really share about your journey as well. We talk a lot of talk about
It
anime.
started off as like a 15 minutes whiskey masterclass.
The things will flow around with different spectrum. I mean, every person is not like mentioned in trainings or whatever. It shouldn't be single dimension. A person itself can be multiple dimension in terms of what's inspiration that we learn. And even for manga itself, we can anime we can really
you guys
learn.
should do all anime podcast where you get get him and get a few other people.
Who else?
Cosplay and everything.
Joel.
You can always bring in Joel, who is
Joel.
also my fellow coach for
Yes.
Domain Expansion Athletics Coaching.
Yeah.
He watches quite a bit of anime as well, but he's on the more modern side. I'm a bit more esoteric.
Your spectrum goes like from the 80s to the current.
I'm like the weird in between of the manga generation. It's
Yeah.
not too old, but at the same time, like not too. I do follow the recent stuff, but nowadays it's mostly a lot of repetitive trash that we enjoy watching. You know?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All those power trippy
Yeah.
guys. It's nice, yes.
I mean, I grew up with Gundam and then Slam Dunk and
I grew up with Gundam Seed Destiny, not the original Gundam.
Evangelion and all that. And that was-
Evangelion was technically before my time.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
Grew
was
up with
pioneering.
Dragon Ball, then
Yep.
got into there's one rare anime, Guyver.
Guy.
Yeah,
Guy-
Guyver is like
Guy-
City
a
Hunter. City Hunter defined my childhood.
City Hunter.
Yeah, City, all the 101 dick jokes in one book.
Mine was One Piece, Dragon Ball,
Naruto.
Naruto was a bit after that.
Yeah, Naruto's a bit after that. Yeah.
I believe One Piece and Dragon Ball was airing at the same time,
Right.
but at that time, right, it was Dragon Ball Z
Right.
and One Piece in the East Blue arc.
Yeah.
That was around the same time period. Because One Piece was if I'm not wrong, it's a 1996 or 1995 work.
95.
Yeah, and so the anime came out, and then it was probably around the early 2000s where we got the Funimation dubs and all
Right.
that.
Okay.
Right.
Thanks, huh?
Right.
Okay,
Thank you
now
very much
I
for
can-
having me on, gentlemen.
thank
Right.
you.
Thank you for having a show. This is the end of the I Like It Raw first ever podcast. Right, we
The
hope you
pilot's
enjoy.
episode. Yeah.
Right.
Must say a classic. Like, share, and subscribe.
Like, share, subscribe.
Like, share, and subscribe.
Right. Follow us on YouTube and Spotify. Right. Links somewhere in
Somewhere
this
in the
video.
description box below.
Yeah, in the video.
Just put it
right.
Over here. Okay. And thank you and goodbye.